All right, so today we have with us Dr. Paul Sackett, who is at the University of Minnesota and does basically all of the research ever in areas like adverse impact, selection, personality, counterproductive work behavior. So it's a really broad spread. And if you look him up, you will be really overwhelmed by his CV. It's kind of terrifying. But did I get everything about right? Would you say that about describes you? Terrifying, doing all the research on everything. That's fair? Okay.
That's
all
fair.
Right. So, Paul, the reason why we have the soapbox is to try to show about all the cool things that IO psychologists are doing, what we're learning, where we are, and really get IO elevated and out there. So I already know that you're going to not want this question, but what are you most excited about right now? What work are you doing that you're the most excited about?
That's really tough because I want to say there's about 20 things and they're all tied.
Yeah.
But if I could just tell one story, there's a line of work that I'm finding really interesting because I think it's provocative. The work I do, I study different populations. I tend to study youth at about age 18, right? You've got basically three choices: continue in school, go to work, join the military. And all three of them tend to use similar tools and techniques for making entry decisions, and they tend to be siloed. There's people who study educational admission, people who study military entry, people who study organizational selection, and frankly, the similarities are so great that I'm having an interesting time cutting across and working in all of those fields. One topic that I'm finding intriguing is the finding that tests, let's use educational admission test as an example, the finding is they underpredict how women are going to do in college. Women do better in college than their SAT or ACT scores would predict. And the first reaction is, well, that means there's something wrong with the test.
Okay.
And it's such an intriguing phenomenon, and decided to dig in and look closely. And what you end up finding is, my conclusion from all of it is, it's not the test. It's, of course, there are other factors that contribute to performance than the cognitive skills that are assessed by a test. And a big difference is the gender difference in conscientiousness. All else equal, and this is getting into tough, but women are on average, and this is on average, more diligent than men.
I just want to say that we have that on video, okay? It's out there. Women are more diligent than men, okay? All right.
And so this is what it amounts to. So basically, if you say you've got a man and a woman with the same SAT score, why do women do better?
They're more
because there's
diligent.
something wrong with the test, but they're higher on diligence. And so we unpack that in really interesting ways. I was really fond of one of the studies we did on the University of Minnesota, introductory psychology. We've got 3,000 students taking it. It's huge, it's massive. But I took the grade you get in that course and unpacked it into 4 separate components. There's scores you get on tests.
Yes.
There's scores you get on quizzes.
Okay.
There's participation in weekly lab sessions, and there's credit for participating in experiments.
Yeah.
And if you take those 4 things, 2 of them I'll call largely cognitive. Tests and quizzes are skills. The SAT and ACT predict how well you do on those, and they do so the same for men and for women.
Yes.
The test does what it should do, if that makes sense.
Yes.
On the other hand, women are outperforming men in terms of, do you attend and participate in the weekly discussion sessions, and do you choose to participate in the experiments that get you extra credit?
Yes.
So you put this all together and you find, once you take it apart that way, the test does what it's supposed to do, and these other pieces that reflect diligence, conscientiousness. Then another work with the same question, we directly give. We give on the first day of the semester, we give everybody an intro psych a big 5 measure. We get a measure of conscientiousness directly.
Yes.
And then when you just put it into a predictive model, test alone predicts how women are going to do. Test plus their conscientiousness score gives you a good prediction. So I think we sort of solved that problem. This whole something's wrong with the test doesn't hold.
Well,
it's something is wrong if anybody said we're going to make decisions only
on the
basis
test.
of the test.
And that's so
Find
interesting.
a way to take into account these other features. And arguably, schools do. I know of no college or university that says we look at test scores and that's it. I mean, if you think about it, what's the difference between test scores and high school grades? High school grades also have, of course, a cognitive component, but they've got an effort and conscientiousness component to it as well, as do all the other. You write an essay, we look at extracurriculars, we look at all the features that go into an admissions decision, and there's room for
that
effort and
consideration
diligence to come into play.
Yeah.
So admissions decisions don't seem to be favoring men over women. Test scores, just look at it and don't look at it carefully, would lead you to think perhaps there's a problem. Close examination, I think we've now nailed it down and say not a test issue, it's simply the broader set of things that contribute to performance.
Do you know of any colleges or universities that use a formal measure of personality as part of their admissions process, and should they?
I don't. Here's the issue. The big issue with measures of personality is the social desirability problem.
Sure.
And when I talk about these 3 different populations, military, employment, and education, the thing that's really interesting, well, they're very similar in the things that they're interested in, what you wish you could measure. A big difference is in the employment world. The employment world is terribly diffuse. There's huge numbers of employers. Each employer has their own hiring process.
Yes.
Each employer uses different tests, and the number of tests out there is huge.
Yes.
When a candidate shows up and applies for a job, it's pretty common for them to say, "Oh, you want me to take a test? I didn't know I was going to have to do that." It's
right.
On the other hand, everybody applying to college knows that you're going to be taking the SAT, the ACT. When the people who produce SAT or ACT say, could we add a personality measure to our test and broaden it? Because everyone said they'd like to look at a broader set of characteristics. It's very public, it's very visible. The people who run coaching programs would be saying, how can we teach people to beat it? So we succeed in the employment world largely because the tests are under the radar. There's so many, they're so diffuse, so many different ones. We don't have people systematically studying and preparing in the same way that you would. As we know, people spend all kinds of time and effort, and that's one of the big controversial issues with college admission.
I was going to say.
Who has access to
test prep? Let's get into that.
And it's interesting to watch the test providers, College Board with their SAT, putting very, very high quality coaching and test prep materials online for free, available to everybody.
Yes.
And so that's sort of a nice, how do we level the playing field? We say, well, good stuff is available to anybody who chooses to take advantage of it. So I thought that was a really good move when they moved that direction a few years ago.
So, to put you on the spot, because this is one of those areas that's now becoming, or perhaps has been for a while, relatively controversial. If we move up to a graduate level, for example, the use of GRE in admissions, the argument that the GRE is a proxy for socioeconomic status and how it should not be used for graduate admissions on one side, and of course the more, but it predicts grades on the other side, but there are subgroup differences. But, so how do you feel about the GRE for use in graduate admissions?
I believe the evidence is quite supportive. GRE is a very, very useful tool. The proxy for SES argument, I think, is a little too strong.
Okay.
Are there relationships? There's a correlation between SES and any of the admissions tests, from undergrad or grad level. And so the question, of course, does that reflect a bias in the test, or is it simply delivering a message that about inequities in society such that low SES students on average have had less of an opportunity to learn and acquire the knowledge and skills that are reflected in the test and are related to performance. So we've done work with that asks the question, the critics' claim is it measures nothing but socioeconomic status. If that claim were true, then we could say, then if you are controlling for the effects of socioeconomic status, the predictive power of the test should disappear. The cleanest way that I've been able to examine that, we've got this huge data set from the College Board on SAT. It's 1.5 million students from several hundred different colleges, so just the size of it is overwhelming. But it's so large that we're able to break it into little subgroups and say, so here's people with each group is made up of kids from exactly the same socioeconomic status.
Okay.
Here's people with parents earning $70,000 a year. Here's people with parents earning $30,000 a year. So SES is held constant, and in each of those little groups, we ask how well does the test predict? And it predicts effectively as well within any one of those narrow slices as it does overall.
And are you able to control by geographic region? Because of course, 30,000 in Wyoming is going to look different from 30,000 in DC.
Yeah.
Or do you have that information that you could?
Have
so you could look into that too.
Yeah, this is,
it gets complicated.
So
that's a lot. Yeah.
This is a very nice data College Board has collected a pretty good attempt at a nationally representative sampling of schools. So we can control for region of the country, public, private, selective, less selective, all those kinds of things.
So I hear you, and I like what you're saying. I feel like we still need to think about what we do about that, though, in terms of access to resources, because we don't want SES to be related to these scores.
Right. So this is a message.
So what do we do?
So this is
fix society. What do we do?
Fix society.
Okay.
What becomes really clear to me is that we need interventions, and the interventions need to start early.
Yes.
The issue isn't, what do we do? And of course, in the short term, anything we can do for someone who's currently in the
pipeline.
But it's got to be as early a start. The single thing societally that would be most important for us is the early childhood interventions, and there's really, really good work on that. There's some economists who are doing some wonderful studies on the long-term return on an investment in early childhood education aimed at the inequities that we've got. And so
I remember reading.
There isn't a quick fix, but that's where the efforts really will pay off.
I love it. So I know we're trying to be sensitive to time right now. I know. We got a jet, but we got to go. We got a conference to get to. But I was going to say, do you want to leave folks with anything, anything that you think anybody who might be interested in IO psychology should know, or what's the future for us here?
What you should know is that it's a wonderful field. It's absolutely amazing when you think about all the different kinds of options available.
Yes.
I've got all my students, and they all go different things. There's those who want to teach, there's those who want to be scholars and researchers, there's those who want to be consultants, there's those who want to be the in-house psychologist for a particular firm. And the good news is all those options are available.
Yes.
It's nice to be in a field that's in demand. We have the opportunity to do good work, to make a contribution to people's lives, to organizational effectiveness, and so I think we've got the best job out there. Yes, we do.
Completely agree. It's my favorite. I'm obsessed with IO psychology. Everybody knows that. So there you go. That's Dr. Paul Sackett spending part of his morning with us before we go into the rest of the day and next yesterday. Tomorrow is the day that comes after today. I'm clearly tired in this conference. So thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.